Do you have a porch goose that wants some hair? Let's crochet it a wig. Hi, let's make a wig for our porch geese. I think they're really fun and you can add a lot of personality with them. This is from my goose wigs pattern, and this is free on my blog, but you can also buy a downloadable PDF if you want, but I'll put those links in the description. So we're gonna start with this blonde wig. They are made very similar. You start with a little base that sits on top of their head, and then you can add whatever different braids or ringlets or whatever you want to do. You can even do big ponytails. So let's get started. Okay, to start, I have my hook and worsted weight yarn, and I'm going to chain 8. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then I'm going to work a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So just one single crochet. And then I'm going to work a half double crochet in each of the next 5. And the reason I did that is because I wanted the wig to be a little bit more of an oval shape instead of just a hard square. So I'm going to work 1 half double crochet, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then I'm going to end with 1 single crochet in that last stitch. This is just my yarn tail from the beginning. We'll weave that in when we're all done. We don't need to worry about that for right now. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn my piece, and I'm going to work that same as I did the last. I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch. Then I'm going to do a half double crochet in each of the next 5 and end with 1 single crochet in the last. And then 1 single crochet. So there's the start. And then I'm going to do that same row 4 more times. Okay, so we have now finished step number 3, and we should have 6 rows. So here's my beginning row that I worked into the beginning chain. Then step number 2, we did a single crochet, 5 half double crochets and a single crochet. Then we repeated that 4 more times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this step is all the way around the outside and making the ringlets all in one. I wrote it this way so that we wouldn't have to sew a bunch of stuff together and things. And so I hope you like how it's written. So first off, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. I'm going to single crochet the first 2 together because I want to kind of slant in right here. So I'm going to do single crochet 2 together, and then I'm going to chain 40, and this is going to make my first ringlet. So let's just go ahead, jump right in, chain 40. All right, so now when we have 40, I'm going to work 2 single crochet in that second chain from the hook. So here's the first one. I'm going to work 2 single crochet in that same chain. And I like to hold the base of my stitch when I'm working multiple stitches in a chain so it doesn't pull it apart and make it super gappy. You're still gonna have a little bit of a space, but you won't notice it, especially on these ringlets. Then I'm gonna skip the next chain. So I'm gonna skip 1, and I'm gonna work 3 single crochet in the next chain. Now, why didn't I work 3 in the first one? Well, because I started in the second chain, so I already have the 1 chain that kind of fills in plus the 2, so it makes about the same. But it's just going to be up under the hair anyway. But for those of you that, like me, that want everything similar, that's why it's that way. So I'm gonna skip 1, I'm gonna work 3 single crochet in this next stitch. Like I said, I hold just the base of the stitch, or the base of the chain, just to kind of keep me from getting crazy and pulling my stitch really big and loopy. And I'm just gonna repeat this step all the way back towards the beginning of this chain. So the repeat is skip 1, work 3 single crochet in the next. Skip 1, 3 single crochet in the next. Now, why do I skip 1? I wanted these ringlets to be a little bit looser. If you wanted the real tight spirals, you would just work 3 single crochet in each chain across, and then that's going to give you that really tight one. But when we're going to fold this up in, and this is going to be our ringlet, and so I wanted it just a little bit looser so they would hang and bend better. But this is your project, and you can do it any way you want. But I'm going to continue doing skip 1, work 3 single crochet in the next, and I'll be right back. Okay, once you have your ringlet, you should have something that looks like this. And it might have come and twisted a little bit. We'll just twist it back up. All right, so I want you to lay your piece out on a flat surface so you can kind of get it all lined up. Here is the single crochet 2 together decrease that I did. If you wanted to do a different style, you could always just leave the ringlets as is, so they would just hang down as a ringlet instead of making them into the loops. To do that, you would just, rather than sticking the end on your hook, just leave it and continue on. So let's say I was just going to leave ringlets this time. I would just slip stitch in the same stitch and then go on to the next one. So this is the last stitch that I worked into. That's important. I want you to remember where that is. And here is where I just finished. I'm going to take the tip of my ringlet, and it can be, you can go this way, you can go this, however you want to go. But I'm just going to keep it twisted, and I'm going to find that last stitch right there of my ringlet. I'm just going to take my hook, still where I've just finished it, and I'm going to slip it into the tip or that stitch, whichever one you want. It's about the same place, just like this. Now, this is a little awkward when we do this next part. So it's like, do I go this way? Do I go this way? Just take the tip of your hook and stick it in that stitch we were just working into. This is my decrease right here on the big hair piece. I'm just gonna stick it in. So I have, on my hook, I have the last stitch I worked when I was making the ringlets. Then I stuck my hook in the tip of the ringlet to make this loop. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to just stick it in that hole. I'm gonna push the ringlet out of the way. Then I'm going to take and pull up a loop. I'm going to take it and just go right through all the loops on my hook. And it's gonna be a little tricky. You're gonna have to turn your hook a little bit to get it to go through, but we're gonna go all the way through and then just snug it down in. I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So just pull up a loop and through the loop on my hook. Now I'm going to do a big long chain again. I'm going to do it exactly how I just did, but this time I'm going to chain 60 so that my center loop will be a little bit longer. I'm going to chain 60, and then I'm going to do exactly what I just did on this. Okay, now at the end of my chain 60, just like I did before, I'm going to work 2 single crochet in that second chain from my hook. So I'm just going to work 1 and 2. Then I'm going to skip 1 and work 3 in that next chain. This is exactly like our first one, just a little bit longer chain. And so I'm just going to keep working my way across, skip 1, 3, single crochet all the way back and to here. Now, before we do this next step, it's important that I make sure I have my ringlets where they need to be. So here's my first one. Here's my little hair piece that I've got going here. Here's my ringlet. So then I've got this ringlet, and I'm just gonna lay it down and go, yep, that's about how I want it. And just kind of play around with it. It's about the same anyway. That's the nice part about these ringlets, unless you like pull it and do all kinds of weird stuff. So I'm just gonna pick up the end. Gotta put my hook back on the loop back on the hook, and I'm just going to pick up and slip it, the tip of that ringlet onto my hook. Stick it on there, okay? Then, while I have all this, I'm just gonna move everything out of the way, and I'm going to find that same stitch that I did my last slip stitch in. I'm going to pull up a loop, move all this out of the way. I'm just gonna kind of push my way through to get it through the tip and the loop, and I lost it, so I'm gonna start again. Oh, maybe I saved it. There. Oh, ta-da! There it is. Okay, so then we're just going to do exactly the same thing. Slip stitch in the next stitch, and then I'm going to do the chain 40, so exactly like the first one. Okay, we've got another ringlet. I know, it takes a lot of work, doesn't it? It's easy, but it's just a little time consuming. But in the end, I think it's worth it. So I'm just gonna make sure my ringlet is twisted how I want it. I'm gonna lay it all out. So I've got 1, 2, and this is my third one. So just like the others, I'm going to take the tip of the ringlet and stick it on my hook, push it on there. Then I'm gonna take this whole thing and stick it in the same stitch that I was working in, pull up a loop, and then I don't yarn over first. I'm just gonna take and pull it through all the loops on my hook, and there's that. Then I'm going to single crochet 2 together. So there's 1, 2, and all the way through. Now you'll notice there is one more stitch back there. What are we gonna do with that? Well, on the next step, we're gonna work across the edge now. So we finished one side. Now we're gonna work, this is gonna be the front where we're gonna have bangs, just little curlies across the front. So I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to slip stitch into that corner or last stitch, however you want to call it. So I'm gonna slip stitch in the corner. Then I'm gonna chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to slip stitch in the next spot that I can. And I like to work in the end of each of the rows. So I'm just gonna go right there, and I'm just going to stick my hook in, pull up a loop, and right there. I'm just gonna repeat that. 1, 2, 3, 4, find the next spot. I could even put it in the same one if you want lots of bangs, but I'm just gonna go, that's where I was. I'm gonna go right here. I'm just going to slip stitch in that next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, find my next spot, slip stitch. I'm just gonna keep working across, and I did 5, but you could do 6, however many, you know, just work your way across until you've worked all the way to the end. So I'm gonna do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna slip stitch, move my beginning yarn tail out of the way, and just slip stitch into that last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I ended up with 6. So, but I like how it worked across the front. So whatever you want to do there. So now we're just going to repeat what we did on the other side. We're going to chain 1. We're going to single crochet 2 together. We're going to start in that same stitch. No. Okay, we're going to single crochet. All right, we are going to single crochet 2 together, the next 2. So pull up loop, yarn over, and through there. Then we're just gonna do the same thing as we did on this end. We're gonna do one that's chain 40, one chain 60, one chain 40. And then when we get to the end of that, I'll be back. So go ahead and pause this and work those last ones, then come back and finish your wig with me. I'm going to finish this one off as well. So I'm just going to slide it on my hook, and then I'm going to insert my hook in the same stitch, just like I've been doing. Get that ringlet out of the way. I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm going to pull it through all the loops on my hook, and then I'm done with my last ringlet, thank heavens, because that was a lot of single crochets. Okay, now to finish off, I'm going to do a single crochet 2 together in the last 2 stitches here. Yarn over and pull through. And then I am all done with the wig part. So I'm gonna cut off, leave me a long tail so I can finish this off. And what I do is I just yarn over and pull that through to kind of lock it in place. Then I'm gonna take a yarn needle and thread my yarn tail on it. I'm going to go to the back side, and I've got 2 yarn tails, my beginning and my end one. What I like to do is I take my yarn needle and I'm just going to weave it through a few stitches on the back in one direction. Then I'm going to change directions and go a couple more stitches. I'm trying to just stay on the back. You shouldn't see your needle on the right side. But because it's the same color, you won't see those stitches anyway. Pull it through, and then one more time going back in another direction. And this just helps lock those yarn tails in place. So I've got that one. I can cut that one off. And then I'm going to do the same with my beginning yarn tail. Just going to take it, weave it in and out, one direction. Make sure you don't pull that too tight because it can cinch in your work. I'm just pulling it enough to pull the yarn, and then a few stitches in another direction. All right, so now my wig is finished. Now, if your goose is always going to wear a wig, you can take and put a piece of Velcro on this side, and you could stick a piece of Velcro on the top of your goose's head and then stick this on top. And I've done that. My dad's goose used to always wear a wig, and so I would put that on there. But because I don't want it to always wear one, I like to crochet a chain on each side, and then I tie it under the chin. But you could also use just a piece of elastic if you want. I just like to be able to use yarn whenever possible so that I don't have to get different supplies or things like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my G-hook and start just someplace right about in the middle of the side. And I don't want to go all the way through here because then I would see the white from the top. The reason I use white is so it hides in the color of the goose. So if your goose is a different color, then you'd want to use a different one, or you can use whatever color you want. But I'm just going to kind of go at the base of the ringlets. And then I started doing this a little bit different. Rather than just creating a chain and then having a yarn tail that I needed to weave in someplace, I started working over the chain. So I've got a big long tail and I pull up a loop. And now this is my yarn that I'm going to be working with. I'm going to take my yarn tail and put it kind of in the way. So I'm going to work around it. So I'm going to chain 30. And as I chain, I'm going to take this yarn tail and kind of move it back and forth. Now, that's a lot of extra work, or if it's just in the way or you can't really get the groove of it, it's okay. You don't need to do that. Just cut this about this long, about 6 inches long, and then weave it in someplace. That's fine. This is just how I've started doing it. So I just hold both strands and I only chain with my main yarn, but I just go around my yarn tail so that it is carried along the path. And it does make it a little bit thicker, but not enough that you have to worry about it. And this way I know that my yarn tail isn't going to come out, and I don't have to worry about weaving in white yarn in a yellow wig. And it does make it a little bumpy, but you decide how you want to do it. If you want to do it this way, great. If you'd rather just do a chain and weave in your ends, that's great too. It's whatever works best for you and whatever you are most comfortable with. This is just a way that I've started doing it, and I thought I would just let you see. Okay, I've lost track of how many chains I've done. So I gotta go back and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I need to do 2 more. Okay, now, also because I have been I had my yarn tail, they're both here together. What I'm going to do, first pull that through, is now I can take these 2 strands, one from my beginning yarn tail and then my end, and I can tie them in a knot at the end. Now, if I didn't carry my yarn tail down with me, my beginning yarn tail, I would just take and pull my end chain really tight, and that would be good. So just going to tie those in a knot like that. And then if you want, you can just trim them both and they'll just hang down together, or you can take and weave this one back up the chain a little bit, but I don't. I just trim them both short, and then so that they don't flare like that, I just pull the yarn ends to get apart so they're just like a little tiny fluffy thing. I don't know how to say that. All right, so now I'm going to do the same for the opposite side. This time I will show you how I would do it if I was just doing a regular chain and I wasn't working over my chain. So I'm going to go through 2 spots here at the base of the ringlets. I'm just inserting my hook, and then I'm going to do it white. I am going to leave about 6 to 8 inches so that I can weave it in later, and I'm going to chain 30. Okay, now that probably looked like it was a lot easier than when I was working over the yarn tail, but at this point I was almost done with that. At this, now with just one, I have to do something with my end. So I'm going to just pull that through. I'm going to pull this tight. And I just have the one, so I'm just going to trim it. Okay. And then I've got my beginning yarn tail that I need to hide. Now, one thing that I've found is if on the ones that I have taken my yarn tail and gone through the chain, wherever the end is, that's going to end up just sticking out. I see it on older wigs that I've put on my dad's goose, and this little yarn tail just sticks out the side. So that's why I started doing it that way. So what I would suggest doing is I would go through the base of the chain just to lock it kind of in place there. Don't pull it off your needle. Okay, put that back on. Now, since you're not going to see underneath the wig, it's going to be up next to your goose's head. I'm just going to pull up, just take my yarn and work through just the top layer here, making sure that you can't see it from the other side. Don't go too deep, but this way it just kind of locks it in place. Now, I often get asked, can I just tie a knot in the ends of my yarn? Yes, with a little hesitation in my voice. You can if you leave your tails just a little long, and I would highly suggest putting a touch of fabric glue and letting it dry really well, just to keep that knot together, because if you knot it, unless you're much better at tying knots than I am, that knot's probably going to come apart, and that you don't want that to happen. All right, so we are almost done. There's our ties, there's our wig, and now the only thing I have left to do is to put some bows in place. So I have some pink metallic and yarn tails. I have some pink metallic yarn that I am going to use, and I'm still going to use a G hook, and these are super quick and easy. I'm going to chain 11, and then I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the second chain from my hook and in each chain across. So then when I'm done, I should have 10 single crochet. Just 1 across. And you could make these bows bigger if you wanted by just starting with a bigger chain, a longer chain. So there's my single crochet 10, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to single crochet in that same stitch, and in each stitch across. So this will be my second row, and then I'm going to do this for 3 more rows. So I should have a total of 5 rows of single crochet when I am done with this little bow. Okay, after we have our little strand, our little square here, I'm going to cut a fairly long yarn tail. I'm going to pull that through my stitch to finish that off. Give it a tug. All right, now I'm going to take a yarn needle and I'm going to weave in my beginning yarn tail first, just to get rid of it. So through a couple of stitches. Make sure that that stays as square as possible, and then back through a different direction. Gonna trim that off. I need to get different scissors. Mine are all gunky and they don't cut anymore. Imagine that. Okay, now I'm going to take my other yarn tail, and this one is going to make the center of my bow. We're gonna scrunch it together. But first I need to get to the middle. So I am going to weave my yarn needle in and out till I get to about the middle of my little rectangle here. Okay, then I'm going to squish it. I'm going to wrap my yarn around it a couple of times, and then I'm going to hold it and give it a little bit of a tug. Then I'm just going to keep doing that. Wrap it around, give it a tug. Make sure that I am in the middle. I've done it before when I've been off to the side or something, and then just take it apart and do it again. But I'm just going to keep wrapping until I like the middle of that. I usually do it several times, just to make it nice and thick, and keep straightening it so that your sides don't get bent back weird. You want your goose to look all nice and stylish, not have a weird bow on his head. So I've gone around the middle. You could keep going several times if you want. I'm good with that, so I'm going to flip my bow over and finish off this yarn tail. Okay, now you've got a couple of options here. You can take this and use this remaining yarn tail to sew your bow right onto the wig, right at the base of the ringlets. And that's what I have done all the time. And then recently I thought, you know what, why was I sewing it right there? Because maybe for the 4th of July, I want her to have stars, or maybe she needs little shamrocks in her hair or something. So I thought, I'm going to make this so that I can interchange them. I have a whole bunch of these little hair clippy things. You could also use a bobby pin if you wanted. And I'm going to attach it to this, and then I'm just going to clip it into her hair, and I can remove it if I want. If you have any of the little, they look like little butterflies or something, you could sew it to one of those as well. And for that matter, you could use this in a little girl's hair also. So to do this, you've got a couple of options. See how one side sticks up and the other side is flat? I like the part that sticks up to be against the bow, just so it'll lay flatter against the wig. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to slide it through those center stitches like that. And then I'm going to take I can cut that yarn tail off. I should have done that first. This is an awkward way to do it. All right. And then I can just take this. I'm going to do it so that the big part of the clippy thing is towards the back of the wig. And then you can just take and clip it right onto the wig like that. And then just push it down. And then we can put the other one in place as well. If you wanted, you could even take and just glue the bow right onto it, but this is going to stay in place. It's not going to, like, they're going to be running around out on the playground and it's going to fall off. Now, if I was doing it for little kids' hair, maybe I would do that, or glue this to a barrette or something. You can play with that and see, you know, what you want to do. But now I'm ready to finish the other side and tie this onto my goose. When I want to trade colors, I can just slip this off, put a red bow on, or green or holly, or, you know, whatever I want to do. But I like this removable option. If you make wigs for your geese, I would love to see them. Please let me know. And I hope you enjoy this project.